Episode 28, Let the Doctrine Begin. Welcome back to Hidden and Distorted History of the Church, where we uncover the lesser-known truths about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the Mormons. My goal is to reveal the authentic historical facts behind the Mormon Church. Recap. Last time we explored the escalating tensions in Jackson County, Missouri during 1833. Locals grew hostile toward the Mormons, fueled by W.W. Phelps's publication of the Evening and the Morning Star, which likened Mormons to ancient Israel, inciting fears of a takeover. This led to mob violence that destroyed the printing press, forcing Mormons to flee. By 1834, Mormonism Unveiled featured over 60 affidavits depicting Joseph Smith and his family as morally corrupt, further undermining his credibility and revealing widespread opposition to the Mormon presence in Missouri. In this episode, we will explore several significant issues. Oliver Cowdery's failure to mention the first vision and angelic visitations in the Church's first official history, Professor Charles Anthon's public rejection of any endorsement of the Book of Mormon, Isaac Hale's affidavit, which highlights Joseph Smith's questionable practices as a money digger, and the dissolution of the United Order and the redistribution of its assets. You do not want to miss this episode. Part 1, Oliver Forgets the Missing First Vision in Mormon History. In 1834, Oliver Cowdery, Joseph Smith's right-hand man, was tasked with writing the first official history of the Church. This wasn't just a casual assignment. It was published in the Church's own paper, The Messenger and Advocate, serving as one of the earliest records of the Church's origins. You'd expect it to contain all the crucial details, right? But here's the bombshell. Cowdery's letters make no mention of Joseph Smith's so-called first vision. That's right, no heavenly visitation, no appearance of God the Father and Jesus Christ in 1820. And he completely omits the angel Moroni's 1823 visit, the very event that supposedly led Smith to the gold plates. So what's going on here? Why would Oliver Cowdery, Joseph Smith's trusted second-in-command, leave out two of the most significant events in Mormon history? Scholars such as Dan Vogel, Grant Palmer, and Richard Bushman suggest that the first vision as we know it wasn't fully developed at that time. Early accounts were more focused on the Book of Mormon and its miraculous translation, rather than personal divine encounters. The first vision gained prominence later, especially after Joseph Smith's 1838 account, which became the official narrative now found in church manuals. Cowdery's letters start the narrative in 1827 when Joseph allegedly received the gold plates. It's all about tangible events, the discovery of the plates, the translation, the birth of the church. No divine appearances, no angelic visitors, just the Book of Mormon and how it supposedly came to be. So why would Cowdery skip something that is now the cornerstone of the Church's existence? Could it be that the first vision simply wasn't important at the time? The Church's foundational narrative was still evolving, and Cowdery may have been more focused on defending the Book of Mormon's authenticity than on personal claims, or even protecting his own role in its creation. Here's where it gets even more suspicious. The first vision didn't become central to Mormon doctrine until years after Cowdery had left the Church in supposed disgrace. The 1838 version, the one you hear about in every missionary lesson, was conveniently written and published after he was gone. This raises a crucial question. If the first vision was as important as the Church teaches today, why didn't Cowdery, the man tasked with writing the official history, mention it? Was it a simple oversight? Or does this suggest something deeper, that the vision hadn't been invented yet, or wasn't central to the Church's identity? Could it be that the event never happened at all? After all, only Frederick G. Williams seemed to know of any such account in 1832. It's time we start asking the real questions. How reliable is the narrative we've been fed? Part 2, Kirtland High Council Meeting, a turning point in early LDS history. Next, we turn to the Kirtland High Council meeting on February 12, 1834. This meeting is significant for several reasons. It marks the first recorded mention of an angel to church members, emphasizing the divine aspect of their mission. Additionally, it addressed the conferral of authority before the church was formally organized. Leaders discussed how divine authority had been granted to them, underscoring its importance for guiding the church. This acknowledgement helped establish a leadership framework that would shape the church's operations. At this point in church history, the Quorum of the 12 Apostles did not have the presiding authority they hold today. Instead, they primarily oversaw missionary efforts. Leadership was more decentralized, with local leaders managing the stakes and wards. The Kirtland High Council was created to address church governance and resolve disputes among members, functioning somewhat like a judicial body within the community. The discussions held during this meeting foreshadowed later doctrines on priesthood authority and ordination, reinforcing the idea that their work was divinely sanctioned. While this meeting laid the foundation for future councils, it's important to note that the organization of the church evolved significantly in the years that followed, particularly as the leadership structure solidified into what we see in the contemporary church. Part 3, Anthon Speaks Out. On February 17, 1834, Professor Charles Anthon publicly distanced himself from the Church of Christ. This shift was prompted by Joseph Smith and Martin Harris using Anthon's name to lend credibility to the Book of Mormon. In a letter to Eber D. Howe, published in Mormonism Unveiled, Anthon explicitly denied endorsing the Book of Mormon's authenticity. He stated, "The whole story about my having pronounced the Mormonite inscriptions to be reformed Egyptian hieroglyphics is perfectly false." Anthon's rejection was part of a broader effort to clarify his position and distance himself from claims made by Smith and his followers. He closed his letter off with a damning statement. "I have thus given you a full statement of all that I know respecting the origin of Mormonism, and must beg you, as a personal favor, to publish this letter immediately, should you find my name mentioned again by these wretched fanatics." Anthon's denial significantly undermined the early Mormon narrative. His disavowal of any connection to the Book of Mormon raised serious questions about the legitimacy of Joseph Smith's prophetic claims and highlighted the contentious relationship between the Mormons and established scholars. This incident illustrates the ongoing struggle for credibility faced by the early church. Part 4, A Father-in-Law's Condemnation. Isaac Hale, Emma Smith's father, provided a revealing affidavit detailing his experiences with Joseph Smith. This statement describes how Smith lived with the Hales while engaging in money-digging ventures, utilizing a seer stone to purportedly find buried treasure. Hale accused Smith of being a money digger, a term for those who sought treasure through dubious means. He stated, "I have seen him, Joseph Smith, use a certain stone which he had in his possession to look through, and by means of which he pretended to tell fortunes and find money." Hale suggested that Smith's practices were deceitful, indicating that he fabricated visions or revelations to manipulate others for financial gain. This characterization portrayed Smith as a con artist rather than a prophet, raising skepticism about his motivations. Isaac Hale's affidavit corroborates the testimonies published in Mormonism Unveiled, reinforcing the idea of Joseph Smith as a deceptive figure. Hale's first-hand observations amplify the doubts surrounding Smith's character and raise serious concerns about the narratives promoted by early Mormons. Not only did Hale provide a statement for Howe, but he also testified under oath in Susquehanna County, Pennsylvania, on March 20, 1834. He stated, "Joseph Smith Jr. resided near me for some time after this, and I had a good opportunity of becoming acquainted with him and somewhat acquainted with his associates. I conscientiously believe from the facts I have detailed, and from many other circumstances which I do not deem it necessary to relate, that the whole Book of Mormon, so-called, is a silly fabrication of falsehood and wickedness, concocted for speculation and designed to dupe the credulous and unwary. Its fabricators aim to profit from the deception of those who fall for their lies." Hale's testimony is just the tip of the iceberg. His insights and allegations deserve further investigation, so I urge you to delve deeper into his statement. Part 5, An Order Dissolves. The dissolution of the United Order in April 1834 marks a pivotal moment in the early history of the Church of Christ. Initially established as a system of communal living and economic cooperation, the United Order aimed to foster equality among church members in line with Joseph Smith's vision of a Zion society. However, economic challenges and internal strife led to the decision to dismantle this structure. Following the dissolution, the assets collectively held by church members were redistributed among individuals, mainly Joseph Smith, Sidney Rigdon, Frederick G. Williams, and Oliver Cowdery. This redistribution raises significant questions about the original intent of the United Order and its failure to realize Smith's ideals. Many church members, who had invested their hopes in this communal living arrangement, grew disillusioned as they witnessed their contributions being claimed by those at the top of the hierarchy, leading to heightened tensions within the congregation. The collapse of the United Order illustrates the difficulties the early church faced in implementing its ambitious goals. This event not only reflects internal struggles, but also highlights the broader economic and cultural challenges of the 1830s. The events surrounding Oliver Cowdery's omission of key narratives, Professor Anthon's public denunciation, Isaac Hale's damning affidavit, and the dissolution of the United Order collectively illustrate significant fractures in the early Mormon narrative. Each incident reveals a complex interplay of personal ambitions, emerging doctrines, and community tensions that challenge the legitimacy of Joseph Smith's prophetic claims. As the church grappled with its identity, these controversies not only questioned foundational beliefs, but also highlighted the struggles for power and authority within its leadership, ultimately shaping the trajectory of Mormon history. Please watch for future videos, and thank you so kindly for watching. This is the Ex-Mormon Informant signing off for the day.